each of you try and formulate a question that you have in mind concerned with anything. And when I say anything, I don't mean something like the weather or something like that, but rather something related to history or culture or science or religion, whatever it may be. No matter how it is, literature, books, poetry, whatever it may be, try and see whether they can formulate a question. And I'll ask ChatGPT using this dialog box here to give me a short answer, because it can give me a very long answer also. For example, let me just ask a question and say, who was Shakespeare? Now here, immediately he gives me the answer. You see? So this is just an example. Now, I'm not going to be able to I can read this out to you, but that's just to show you that it's capable of giving me, or you, or all of us, an answer instantly.
Shafiq, we can't see your screen.
The reply was, when I asked who was Shakespeare. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is, of course, can you all see me as well?
Yes, we can see you.
Yes.
Something's come up on the left.
Very
I don't
good.
know what it is. New
Okay.
chat. We
me
don't want
just,
the new chat.
Yeah. Now, I won't have any of you. You can come in with a question, because I'm going to be giving you examples. Okay, now have you got a question that I can ask from the audience? Yes, here. Sorry, I can't hear you too well. Yeah. Oh, we'll come to that a lot later when we're talking about, generally speaking, what the impact of AI is going to be on society. We'll cover that later. But at this stage here, I'm going to be showing you examples of what AI is capable of in terms of the question that we may pose to it. Just to give you an idea as to what we consider to be an intelligent response. Not a machine-like thing that has been told to give you an example and an answer. Something it creates for itself as an answer. So have you formulated anybody? Okay, give me.
Yes, why
Okay, why did the French lose the Battle of Waterloo? Okay, here we go. Let's pose that question. Oh, did I type that? No, I didn't type it in.
Yeah.
Did I? Okay, here we are. The Battle of Waterloo, fought on the June so and so, was a pivotal moment in European history. It marked the end of the Napoleonic era and the defeat of the Napoleon Bonaparte French forces by a coalition of British, Russian, and Dutch, Belgian, and other European troops, commanded by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian general so and so. There are several key factors that contributed to the French defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. Now, these are all the regions: tactical errors, terrain and weather, allied cooperation, exhaustion in numbers, tactical innovation, so on and so on. So you can see, we can ask it for maybe a short answer. So I'll just ask it to give us a short answer, and maybe even in a poetic form. Give answer as a poem of 3 verses. Okay. Did I type that in? Yeah. Here we are. See, it's come up with it. Now, I'll read this out to you. Upon the fields of Waterloo, Napoleon's fate had come to rue. Tactical errors, muddy ground, his victory hopes could not be found. Allies united along they stood, British and Prussian understood, innovative tactics, lines held tight, French forces faced a daunting fight. Exhausted troops and errors made, Napoleon's empire began to fade, leadership faltered, fortunes fell, at Waterloo, his dreams dispelled. Now, you see, this is instantaneous type of response. So that's a question in history which required a fair amount of intense, knowledge about the thing there. Now, the reason why it can do this type of an answer is something called LLMs, large language models. Now, this is a type of technique that has been developed, which in fact lets it access in a neural sort of network type of access to data. And that data is all what has been given to it up to September 2021. That's why I could answer the question of whether today. So it accesses all that vast amounts of data and pulls it up. And of course, the wonder is that it makes such perfect sense. Now, we can't necessarily sort of rely 100% on this, because what it's picking up is data that is already there by way of books or whatever it may be. And there are, of course, certain types of biases already in there. So those biases will also be picked up. And one very good question that I asked very early, a couple of months back, was, why is there anti-Semitism? And it gave me a few paragraphs of reasons which had to do with history and so on. But then I said, look, what about the religious issue that in fact started the process? Because I happened to have read the Gospels when I was at school, and I knew the Pilate and the sort of case that was brought against Jesus by the Pharisees of that day, that Jesus was trying to create a new sort of kingdom, and that was against the Romans. So it was that particular case that resulted in his crucifixion. And of course, Pilate washed his hands off it. So it's a part of the Gospels and history and so on. But it didn't mention that. And when I asked it as to why it didn't mention that as one of the reasons, it says, no, it's controversial itself. And then I started to think, well, it's controversial because maybe there is a lot of literature that has been written that denies that. But since it was part of the gospel, for me, it was something that was, gospel, as it were. Anyhow, I was just trying to illustrate that by telling you that there are biases that one needs to be a little bit, keep that at the back of the mind. Okay, are we ready for another question? Yeah. What happened in Gallipoli? Let's move away from history because we've already done one. Let's go to science, to books, maybe something else, religion, whatever it may be. Yeah. Sorry, you can first. Go ahead.
What was the title of George Eliot's last novel?
Sorry.
What was the title of George Eliot's last novel?
What was the title of George Eliot's last novel? Okay, the question is that I'm typing, what is the title of the, what is the title of George Eliot's last novel? Okay. George Eliot's last novel is titled Daniel Deronda. It was published in 1876 and explores themes of personal identity, Jewish culture, and social issues of the time. The novel follows the intertwined stories of two main characters, so and so, as they navigate their lives and the challenge they face. Okay.
This kind of thing is just a glorified Wikipedia. I mean, this is just Wikipedia, but it's a glorified.
Yes, it is much bigger than that. It's not just a store of knowledge. but it also tells you, and I'll tell you later on, all the types of things that it's capable of. For instance, if I want to learn a language, it can create me a whole lesson of the various steps that I need to take, and maybe even give me examples of the text that I might have to go through to learn through, vocabulary, grammar, whatever it may be. So it is like a personal tutor as well. I'll talk about that a bit later as to when it comes about and talks about the various types of applications it does. Okay, any other? Okay, yeah.
Hello, what is an electron?
1 second, I'm taking a question over here. 1 second. Okay. A question here, I'm just coming to that. Can autistic parents, right? Parents raise. Okay, can autistic mother raise a child? Okay, the answer it's giving us, yes, an autistic mother can certainly raise a child just as any parent. So parenting abilities, okay, the first paragraph of that I'll just read. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects how a person perceives and interacts with the world. It does not necessarily determine anyone's ability to be a loving, caring, and capable parent. Okay, so now I'll take the other question from the Zoom audience. Rob, are you having a question?
Yes, please. What
Yeah.
is an electron?
What is an electron? What is an electron? Okay. Here's the answer. I won't read all of it because it's 3 paragraphs. It goes into a bit more. An electron is a subparticle that carries a negative electric charge. It is one of the fundamental particles that makes up atoms, which are the basic building blocks of matter. Electrons are a type of lepton and a part of the standard model of particle physics. And it goes on to say other things as well. So it's a pretty smart cookie. Any other questions from the Zoom? Oh.
I would like to ask, instead of factual details, can it give an ethical answer?
No, you can ask anything that you would like. Let's see. Yeah, think of it, and then we'll go to think. Yeah. Square root of what is?
I put one in Zoom.
Is the square root of -1. Did I sort of type it in? Yeah. Okay, the square root of -1 is denoted by the imaginary unit 1 in mathematics. It's important to note that there is no real number that when squared equals -1. However, complex numbers which extend the concept of real numbers, the imaginary unit I is defined as the square root of -1. I don't understand that too much anyway. Perhaps it's meaningful to you. Okay, sorry, Johan. Yeah.
I was just wondering if it can, instead of answering factual questions, can it answer ethical questions?
Questions on morality. Okay, ask a question.
The right and wrong of putting refugees into barge.
What are the main reasons for putting them in a camp, is it?
Right, the refugees into barges.
It's not so much the reason, I don't think, as to the whole ethos and morality.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we need to be able to formulate a question for which a specific answer can be given to you. Okay. So,
Reasons for and
yeah.
What about,
Anyhow, there's a question. Yeah, go
what
ahead.
about if you put in a matter of opinion as opposed to facts
Yes.
we've had so far? Say, how well is the Prime Minister doing in his job?
Well, I'd like to ask who is going to win the next election?
It won't go because it's been trained on data up to September 2021. Anything to do with the current politics and all that, and to forecast something, or even the share price of Tesla, whatever it may be, it can't do that. So, but if it wants to sort of give an opinion about about Brexit, maybe it can. And say, was it a good thing or not? Not a good thing. Maybe it might. Okay. Anybody else who's got a
Yes,
question?
did you get my question? Is DNA, is artificial intelligence a good thing? I'll put a
didn't
question
understand
down.
that.
Is artificial intelligence a good thing? And are machines like to displace people out of work?
Can
Two
you-
related questions.
Okay, no, I can't understand the question. Sorry,
Is
David.
artificial intelligence a good thing?
It's a
Is artificial intelligence a good thing? I think my question is very clear.
He said, is artificial intelligence a good thing?
okay. I'll put the question to it itself. All right, David, for you.
Yes, and also ask whether machines are like to displace people from work.
Okay, I'll ask the
Related
question.
Will people be displaced from work? Humans be?
Is AI a good thing? Thing for humanity? I mean, it's a
And will humans be displaced from work?
okay, here's the answer. Positive aspects: efficiency, automation, medical advancements, enhanced productivity, innovation, scientific, so on and so on. Negative: ethical concerns, unemployment, security risk, human autonomy,
Oh, too much.
privacy concern. We'll come to that later. Okay, now that you've got an idea as to what it can do, let me just backtrack now and see where we have come from. All right? So let's, sorry. Oh, I see.
Wait a minute, don't go so fast. I want to read what it says.
Well, I don't think it's, you see, these are questions you can ask of AI or ChatGPT on your phone itself, and it'll give you the same answer that it is given me. So you don't necessarily have to sort of capture these answers for your sake right now. All you need to know is that there is an app that you can download onto your phone or computer and ask it all the questions you need. Okay? Okay, let's go into the background about how it all came about in a way. Where am I? All right, so this is what our talk is supposed to be. I did the little prelude in order to give you an idea as to how powerful this is. It's so powerful, we're still trying to comprehend what it is and maybe look at and see what the impact on society is going to be. Okay, let me start off by just backtracking it to the point where computers started, and of course, what they gave society. Now, when they first came in, they gave us, means. They were a fairly sophisticated tool. They gave you the type of answers that the programmer was able to build into the machine. And when I say build into the machine didn't have any particular choices. It just followed the instructions. Now, that is one phase of the computer sort of technology. Later on, what happened was that it started to learn. And that capability is a bit like what humans do. They start learning, and then they are able to solve problems. So this AI that we have now has the capacity to learn, and therefore is able to sort of do the type of very intelligent answers that it give us. Now, we are familiar with Alan Turing. During the war, he was one of those people who used, the machines to decode, all these spy stuff, all these notes, codes, and so on. He had a bad ending because he was gay, and that period didn't accept gays at all. So they gave him a chemical to castrate him, poor fellow. Anyway, lately the government recognized what an awful decision they had taken, and they apologized for that and reinstated that. So in fact, he's one of the people from our college, and my college. So I have some little sort of regard for him in that sense. Now, what we saw an example is called ChatGPT. Now, what does it stand for, this GPT? GPT is Generative Predictive Translator. Now, that's just, jargon for type of technology they're using. And chat, of course, we all understand that. Now, ChatGPT that I'm using today is something called ChatGPT 3.5. Now, there's going to be a ChatGPT 4 or 5 as well that's coming in soon. And that has a lot more capacity and capability. Now, who are the people who have been instrumental in this? Now, although ChatGPT is not associated with Elon Musk, but he's the guy who set up the original company called OpenAI, which is the one that created ChatGPT. So he put in 50 to 100 million pounds or dollars and set up and brought in these experts to it with the idea, and he called it OpenAI. And the intention behind that was to make it generally available for everybody as a source code as well, which meant that not one big company would capitalize on this and take advantage. And he wanted to safeguard humanity from having that particular power incorporated in one corporation or something like that. Anyway, disagreement took place and he left after having spent about 50 million. So Sam Altman here in the middle, he's the guy who's running it at the moment. Now, the philosophy of OpenAI, it says established with the altruistic aim of ensuring artificial general intelligence, AGI, benefits all humanity. OpenAI was guided by the visionary foresight of its founders. So they still have that vision, but they have modified somewhat because we'll talk about that later. They sought to construct an AI capable of outperforming humans at the most economically valuable work, while also ensuring that its deployment is for the broad benefit of all. So the vision was to try and create something that was going to be helping humanity. But of course, they have gone away on its side, and we'll see how. Now, who are the people who started all this? Now, Elon Musk, of course, he set up the company and then he pulled out. But then he pulled out, and I'll talk more about it when I talk about my other talks on Tesla and all the other stuff, where he has also put in AI, immensely much more powerful AI, to do other things. So we'll talk about that then. That's again another sort of them too in the early stages. Now, somebody asked the question, what else can it do? And here are the things that I think I just in short form put it as it can answer questions, which we did just now, provide explanations, which is what I think some of the questions were related to. Creative writing, it can in fact, as you saw, it created poems within instance. It can write an essay very easily, given no time, and of course even write a book. Now, in order to write a book, what it'll have to do is, of course, you can prompt it. Like, for instance, if I asked it to sort of create a poem, I'll say, well, create a poem for Simone, who likes computers, likes to attend U3A lectures and so on, and it will do that. And I'll say, well, please include roses are red and violets are blue in it, and it'll do that. So you can keep on prompting it, and it can develop, the idea that you want until you're satisfied. So in the same way, it can also write books. And somebody has already tried that, and they found it to be possible as well. So long as you know what it is that you want, you can prompt it and it can do the work for you. So because it has got this vast amount of knowledge behind it. And then of creative writing, language translation. Now, if you have, say, something in Russian, it can translate it into 3 other languages instantly, whatever it may be. So when I talk about this type of capability and a tool that we have been given by the people who have developed this, I mean, it is astonishing. It has, in fact, created a whole new world that enables us to access it, which was not so easily available to us before. An example is like Google, although it does give us answers, it sort of doesn't give us a specific answer. It gives you sources that will have an answer which you might want to read. So it gives you lots of options when you ask a question. So those things you have to read up and then extract the answer yourself. But this ChatGPT, what it does, it extracts the answers and is able to, in fact, give you a logical answer that you would in human-like terms. So it's language translation, code writing. It also write a computer code. You can ask it to say, look, I want to create a little website and I want to have these features in it, and it can sort of give you the code to put that in. So a lot of capacity is there for enabling you to develop a little bit of the programming side of it, if you're familiar with that. Personalized recommendation. It can give you, in fact, some personal recommendation as to how you might want to be able to exploit whatever strengths you have. You can ask it, look, I'm good at doing something, and it can then sort of follow up on that. Say, if you're good at, say, the ability to paint and have a good sense of aesthetics and all that, then it might give you also how you can develop yourself as well. Technical support, of course, I just said, it can do all the coding as well. Learning and education. One of the big sort of institutions that has become an institution is the Khan Academy. They have over 150 million people, children all over the world. Sorry? Khan Academy. Khan, K-H-A-N. I'll just show you an example later on. That's an academy that gives you, first-class education for free to anybody who's able to log in and takes you, it's like your personal tutor. Role playing, you can do, you can play games with it as well, and casual conversation. You can sit down and carry out a dialogue with it as long as you wish. It will do that. It'll give you funny jokes. If you ask, say, give me a funny joke, I feel like I'm laughing, it'll do that. So there is that fantastic capacity. Now that's the dialogue. Sorry. I can't tell you too much. Can you do baby talk?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. It can do that. When we have time at the end, we can do that baby talk as well. See, if there is already literature available, it can do that.
How do I download this chat? How do I download it?
OpenAI, just go to OpenAI and it says you can download it. OpenAI, and just go to Google, OpenAI, and you can download it. Now, this is to show you, it was just a recent, in the last few months, if you like, that has come in. And it has become so popular already, and this gives you a measure of how popular it is. See, for Netflix, it took about 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. For ChatGPT, it took only 5 days. In 5 days, 1 million people logged onto it and downloaded it, and there's probably several million by now. Okay, a little bit more about the aspect of what we mean by AI. Artificial intelligence. It's typically a thing that requires human intelligence. Human intelligence is something that we can't precisely define, but we are able to sort of have an understanding of what we mean by that. And what it allows the computer to do by giving it that intelligence is that it takes information. Data is just, collection of facts, whatever it may be. To extract some information from data, it's called information. So, and that is useful. So it uses data for its answers. It can look at new situations and forecast. And then, of course, it can predict what type of action can be taken as well. Like, for instance, a simple thing is like, you might have used the Siri and Alexa. That's a very, very tiny little way of showing that there's an interaction between human and intelligence of a sort that gives you the type of, time of day or what the weather might be or whatever it may be. And ChatGPT is one, but enormously much more powerful. Okay, what are the milestones? Going back a little bit as to how we have come to where we are today. There is something called, Alan Turing came up with something called Turing test. Because he also at that time wanted to know what is this intelligence and can we give that intelligence to machines? And his test essentially was saying, if you are able, if you put the two people into different rooms and you're sitting over here and talk to them, you'll have to find out who is a human and who's not. And if you keep continuous this conversation, keep going, you might be able to find out who's not human and which is artificial intelligence. That's the Turing test. Now, in 1997, Deep Blue, this is the IBM type of program that was put to play chess. And Kasparov was the grandmaster at that time. And the machine beat Kasparov. Now, the technique that was employed to play chess was quite different to what we have today. That technique was basically a lot of coding that has been put in by a programmer to look at different options and therefore select the one which was best. It's a very tedious, lengthy, and exhausting process of having to create a program like that. But now, as I said earlier on, we have reached a point where we have taught the machine how to learn. And that's what happened in AlphaGo. Now, Go is a game, which is a fairly simple game. And the innumerable, vastly more innumerable options to decide than in chess. So what happened was when the people, Google DeepMind, they taught AlphaGo how to learn the game and not just be taught like in the chess, where it was all a different technique. And that meant that Alpha 0 was the next version of AlphaGo. It beat everybody in that game. The grandmasters of Go were beaten by Alpha 0. And then, of course, in 2020, ChatGPT came along. And now we are at the point where ChatGPT, as you saw, gave us answers in text. You give it a text question, and it gives you an answer in text. Now, ChatGPT 4 gives you an inclusive type of answer with pictures as well. Now, I haven't tried that. I will try that sooner or later. And then, of course, ChatGPT 5 is something you can give a text, and then it can give you a video, which means, essentially, I'll ask it and say, can you make out an animation or video with this type of a theme with these characters in it, and it'll come up with a video like that. See? So that's quite, again, astonishing. Okay, what is the Turing test? I told you a little bit earlier. If a machine can engage in a conversation with a human without being detected as a machine, it has demonstrated human intelligence. So what we have is here, interrogator here, put a human person in one room and machine in the other one. And you keep on asking without seeing who they are, you keep on asking the question. One question was, give me an answer to a 10-digit number multiplying another 10-digit number. And of course, that would be a very obvious case that the machine will do it, but the human can't. But the machine is intelligent enough to know, look, if I give this answer, they'll know I'm a machine. So it'll say, no, I don't know the answer. So it's a smart machine as well. It's not just doing something mechanical. So the Turing test is something which is trying to differentiate a human being from a machine. Now, this is a thing that AlphaGo, just giving you a picture of that. Okay, how it started? Well, essentially, the artificial intelligence was coined by Alan Turing, the phrase. Then he proposed the Turing test. Then, of course, the natural language thing started to come up, which is the basis of ChatGPT, natural language processing, because it can communicate with us. Therefore, it has to understand us. And therefore, it is able to pick up the answers in such a way that it can present it to us in something that we can understand. 22 deep learning data. So here, so these are the ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 5 type of advances that we'll be having soon, becoming a lot more freely available. At the moment, ChatGPT text to text is becoming popular because, as I just showed you, it can give you so many answers, so much on so many topics so quickly. So again, now AI becomes integrated into various industries, driving it into automation. So Tesla and all that, they're working towards automated, autopilots, which means the car will drive itself. And of course, in healthcare, it has already come in. It can diagnose, if you look at the retina, it can also predict, whether you'll be hospitalized in the next 5 years with whatever ailment. Of course, finance and so many other fields are already affected. We don't see so much of it, clearly enough, because it's all backroom stuff. Now, the ethical concerns are also very important because that's the question that you raised. We need to be able to use this tool in such a manner that it's going to be able to not cause a problem, but rather can be helpful. Now, the type of data it uses, like this ChatGPT, has 175 billion parameters. This is the type of data it has been fed in order for us to get that answer that it gave us. So that's why it said it picked up data from 2021 September and past, but not subsequent. So we have, but we have other sort of apps as well. Now that's AlphaGo again. I'm just showing it again. Okay, impact on society. Somebody asked the question. Big sort of changes in the job market. There's a prediction that maybe 800 million jobs are going to be lost. Now, when we had computers come in and we did the normal data processing and so on and so forth, the loss of jobs amounted to about 80% of society's workforce was eliminated because a lot of jobs went overseas. People were able to use human manpower, which was cheaper, and computers as well. But the net, in fact, was a tremendous job losses in the Western world, especially. Now that impact is going to be even more severe. So one has got to prepare for it. And that is something that everybody has got to be asking. How do we now how are we going to still be relevant? Because you see, the old idea of our educational system was based on filling the factories and filling the offices. That's what we are prepared for. Maybe in the Empire days, they prepared you in Eton and so on to go and rule other people elsewhere in the world. But in terms of basic education, that's what they do. Now, with this thing coming in, we need to be able to reorient ourselves in a very significant way to try and sort of keep ahead of AI and not become irrelevant. You know, well, it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, in the sense that we become irrelevant, but what will be very soon that we will find is that your job losses are going to be there. Any ethical bases, you know, are also a big concern of especially fake news. We also saw that in the Brexit decision. You know, the decision was based on emotion rather than rational thinking. And that was exploited by the press, and that's fake news. So we see we are already victims of very major decisions that have helped us. Now this Ukraine war and all that that's going on, a lot of fake news happening, energy prices have gone up sky high because fake news and bad leadership is causing, you know, the humanity to suffer. Anyway, coming back to healthcare and advancement, you know, we are finding all that impacting us for the positive, which I must say is good. Privacy, this is the thing about, you know, our personal data is all out there, and a lot of companies are using it, and that data is like, you know, oil of the future, as they say. Disinformation, fake news, because that data is there of us, they can give us manipulated and crafted type of information to take form, you know, change our opinions and so on. Okay, this is an example of Khan Academy I mentioned. It's very popular, it's free service. And I've given examples of this to a friend of mine here in U3A. Her granddaughter took over, you know, registered and has done brilliantly and has come out with a first from Oxford University lately. So it can be an immensely powerful personal tutor for yourself. Like this particular thing, what I'm showing here is Khan Academy has incorporated in it the ChatGPT type of intelligence and call it Amigo, which means you can converse with any historical figure as a student when you're learning. Suppose you're learning about the civil rights movement or whatever, you can talk to Martin Luther King. He will be there talking, you know, answering questions to you. So all those names out there, you can all, you know, converse with them. So your personal tutor gives you a tailor-made educational resource that will become, you know, so much more powerful for you than one size fits all. You know, one size fits all meant that a lot of people were left behind. And if you're getting 50% of the mark and just gets pushed up the line, then at the end of you leave school, you only learned half the education. You know? But here with a personal tutor, your rating has gone up to 80, 90%.
Do you subscribe to this?
Sorry?
Is this a subscription service? It's not free, is it?
It's free.
It's free.
Khan Academy is free.
Khan Academy is free. Now.
It's available.
It's a charge. Yeah. £28 a month.
For what?
The Khan Academy, GBP.
No, not ChatGPT. I'm talking about Khan Academy.
Hmm?
Khan Academy. Khan Academy is free.
I think.
Khan Academy is using ChatGPT functionality and incorporate it into their thing to extend the scope of what they offer by way of tuition.
Can you use Khan Academy in the same way as you do chat?
Well, you don't have to say ChatGPT to Khan Academy. You just go to Khan Academy. At the back room type of activity, they use the intelligence of ChatGPT. So you don't have to pay for that. No, it's free. Khan Academy. 150 million people all over the world use Khan Academy. Okay? GPT is the type of technology that is being incorporated in all areas. And that technology is also incorporated in Khan Academy. So you can learn whichever way, even if it's a Duo, Lingo, or whatever it is, you want to learn a language, you can do so with enhanced capability. Anyway, here it's a result of how these things at the moment are faring against human beings in taking exams, for instance. This ChatGPT exam performance, since this green here is ChatGPT, this blue is ChatGPT 4, and blue is the average student. So you see the average student is here, here, and here. Whereas all these green and blue, they are ahead in some cases, and most cases, these types of exams. In SAT, for instance, they are performing much better than an average student. So it tells you a little bit as to how things are shaping up. And this again tells you another share how, but 90% of the time they're better than normal human beings' capabilities for giving answers. So this is just a limitation at the moment. At the moment, the one that I'm using is ChatGPT. It has, you can put in about 2,500 input words. But with ChatGPT 4, you can extend the limit to 25,000. Okay, now what's happened with OpenAI? OpenAI was part of Elon Musk's effort. He left, and then they needed money. So what they did was they wanted to sort of bring in somebody, and Microsoft very quickly came in and gave them, $1 billion and said, look, use our money, but give us, the inside information, which means they will then now exploit it to their advantage. And Google already has that capability. So we need to be able to now not only have ChatGPT, there's something that Google has done, which is called BARD, B-A-R-D. They announced it at the same time as ChatGPT when that ChatGPT was announced, but it didn't do so well. Although they were the original people who did a lot more work on that LLM, which is called the large language models, which is underlying technology for these sort of things. So Google was there, but they didn't do a good job. But nevertheless, they're coming up to speed now. And that limitation of September 22, 2021 is not going to be there with Google. Now, one of the most important sort of things that are going to be happening to us as a society is this capability of having AI do a lot of very, very difficult work. Now, on one side, you've got knowledge and you extract knowledge from things, but to be able to put it into action, like making a self-drive car, a lot more difficult. Now that technology is going into that, and I'll talk more about that when I give my second talk, whenever that is, or third talk. This is a Tesla bot. That technology is also being built in into a bot, which is called Optimus, and it's going to be having a pretty powerful impact on society. Okay, that's all for the moment. I'll give us time for a few questions. You can unmute yourself.
There's so much information there that they.
At the moment, the universities are all frightened. I think we're all. Let me just.
Can we know what's
We
happening?
still have some. Now, a lot of universities are worried about this because students can get the answers instantly and can present that. So they might go for the oral type of exams more. And they won't prohibit ChatGPT, but they can't. Okay, so now I think the time is over. And one last question, perhaps from the Zoom. Anybody?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go, Rob.
Can you give an idea of what size of memory is required for ChatGPT? How many terabytes or whatever?
Yeah, at the moment, before the year is over, I heard one of the people who's an AI guru that we will be able to have the ChatGPT on our iPhones. Yeah, you don't have to be connected to the main computers over internet. So it is going to be available to us before the year is over.
Right, thank you.
Desktop.
Okay.
I have it on my desktop. I use OpenAI.
Yeah, you can have it on your desktop and all that, but you're linked to internet, you see?
Oh,
Okay, I'll close the meeting now. Thank you all for your attention.
thank you
And
very
I'll
much.
expand a lot more on my other lectures, on the other talks that I'm doing concerned with various other issues. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.